Strange sounds that hijack your brain, dreams that aren't random, parasites that control minds, rituals to keep the dead alive, cannibalism as worship, plagues that made people dig up graves, and soldiers destroyed by their own government. These aren't stories, they actually happened. Number 1. Sounds that can drive your brain. Insane. Just 2 seconds. 2 seconds for a strange sound to invade your mind. Your heart pounds, your hands go cold, you feel something isn't right, but you can't explain why. This isn't a horror movie, it's how your brain reacts when it hears sounds. That shouldn't exist. Infrasound, frequencies below 20 Hz. You can't hear them, but your body can feel them. They can make you nauseous, dizzy, anxious, as if someone is standing right behind you. Haunted houses. Sometimes it's just a leaky pipe vibrating at the right frequency, tricking your brain into thinking something is watching you. Then there's 19 Hz, the fear frequency. It vibrates your eyeballs ever so slightly, causing you to see shadows moving in the corner of your eye, even when no one's there. A lab once reported workers quitting their jobs because they felt haunted, only to find a machine nearby emitting a constant 19 Hz tone. Some songs are intentionally distorted, reversed, looped, or glitched in strange ways. Listeners reported panic nausea as if something was crawling into their minds. Some YouTubers even created sounds that made mice convulse within seconds. Would you dare to try the CIA once researched acoustic weapons to disable enemies with sound alone? And the Havana Syndrome, where U.S. diplomats heard strange buzzing noises like cicadas, left them with headaches, insomnia, even permanent brain damage. These aren't just noises, they are tools for mind control. Have you ever heard a sound that gave you goosebumps? A faint hiss, a whisper, or just that feeling that something was off? Share your story in the comments. And if you're brave enough, hit subscribe to uncover more mysteries that'll keep you up at night. But be careful. Some sounds were never meant to be heard. Number 2. Are you really in control of your actions? You think you're the one making decisions, don't you? What to eat, what to wear, who to love, who to hate. But what if I told you almost every action you take has already been programmed in advance? Would you believe me? Psychological experiments suggest that we don't really decide much of anything. In most cases, your actions begin before you even realize you've made a decision. In Benjamin Libet's famous experiment, scientists discovered something called readiness potential, an electrical signal in the brain that appears 350 milliseconds before you consciously decide to move. In simple terms, your body acts before your mind says, "Let's do this." Free will, yes, might just be an illusion. You think you're choosing, but the environment is choosing for you. Lighting, sounds, colors, scents, all of them are used to subtly program human behavior. Marketers know this better than anyone. They design spaces to make you feel like you want something when really every element was carefully built to push you there. Studies show that changing the lighting in a grocery store can make people choose completely different foods. Play slow music and customers stay longer, spend more. You thought you chose no. Your brain simply reacted the way it was designed to, and it gets deeper. Nearly 95% of your daily actions are automatic, completely unconscious. You walk into an elevator, press the button, glance at the mirror, walk out. No thinking involved. That's autopilot, the brain's default mode. It saves energy, but it also steals your control. So how do you take back control? You can, but it's not easy. You have to start by becoming aware. Ask yourself every time you act, why am I doing this? Am I choosing or just reacting? Meditation, journaling, practicing mindful attention. These are simple tools that can help you break the loop. So next time you laugh, or get angry, or click on the next video, pause for just 1 second and ask yourself, did I really choose this? Or am I just being controlled without even realizing it? Number 3, dreams are not random, and the reason is terrifying. You close your eyes, your body goes still, but your brain wakes up. And then it begins a dream so vivid, so strange, so real you wake up breathless. You tell yourself it's just a dream. But what if it isn't? For years, we believed that dreams were random, just leftover thoughts, mental static. But now, neuroscientists are discovering something unsettling. Your dreams are not random. They are coded messages, warnings, rehearsals for threats you don't even know exist. In ancient times, humans dreamed of wild animals fire falling because those were real dangers. Today, we dream of car crashes, plane turbulence being chased, even though we're safe in bed. But the brain doesn't care. It's running simulations, testing reactions, preparing for the worst. And the scariest part, studies show your brain can't tell the difference between a dream and a real experience. That panic you felt while falling in a dream. Your heart raced, your muscles tensed, your body was convinced you were dying. But dreams don't always come from fear. Sometimes they come from buried memories, thoughts you've suppressed, trauma you've forgotten. Dreams dig them up. They show you things you didn't want to see because your conscious mind won't deal with them. Lucid dreams where you become aware are even creepier. Why? Because the moment you realize you're dreaming, the dream watches back. Many lucid dreamers report the same thing. An unknown figure suddenly appears, the environment shifts, and the feeling that something is angry you found out. Some psychologists believe dreams are a last line of communication between you and parts of your mind you never visit. Parts that want to be heard. Parts that won't stop until you listen. So the next time you dream, don't brush it off. It might not be a random flicker of neurons. It might be your brain screaming at you about something you're not ready to face. Number 4. Brain-controlling parasites really exist in nature. There are creatures on this planet that don't just live inside other animals, they control them. They invade, they hijack, they turn their hosts into walking puppets. And the scariest part? Some of them are already inside you. Let's start with the zombie ant. In the jungle, a fungus called Ophiocordyceps infects ants through their bodies and spreads to their brains. The ant doesn't die. Instead, it climbs to a specific height, bites onto a leaf, and waits. The fungus bursts out of its head, raining spores onto more ants below. That's not a horror movie, that's nature. But it doesn't stop with insects. Toxoplasma gondii, a tiny parasite found in cat feces, infects rodents and changes their behavior. Instead of fearing cats, infected mice become attracted to the scent of cat urine. They walk right into their predator's jaws willingly. The parasite's goal? To get back inside the cat where it reproduces. But here's the real twist. Toxoplasma can infect humans. And it has. Over 30% of the global population is estimated to carry it right now. In some studies, infected people show higher rates of reckless behavior, impulsiveness, and even personality shifts. Coincidence maybe, but maybe not. In crickets, parasites force them to jump into water where they drown, allowing the parasite to swim out. In wasps, larvae hijack a spider's brain to force it to build a protective web, then kill it and hide in the shelter. This is not fiction. This is evolution at its most terrifying. So what about us? If parasites can alter the behavior of ants, rats, spiders, what makes you so sure your thoughts are your own? That sudden impulse, that strange attraction, that gut feeling to take a risk, was it really you? Or is there something else pulling the strings? Number 5, military experiments that left soldiers permanently deformed war doesn't end on the battlefield. Some soldiers survive the bullets, only to be destroyed by their own side. Throughout history, governments have pushed the boundaries of science in the name of war. And sometimes, the test subjects were their own men. In the 1940s, the U.S. Navy conducted radiation exposure tests. They wanted to know how much radiation can a human take before they die. So they exposed sailors to increasing levels of radiation without protection. Some developed aggressive tumors within months. Others lived but with horrific mutations, organ failure, or sterilization. No medals, no compensation. Just silence. In the 1950s, the British military tested nerve gas on soldiers inside enclosed chambers. They were told it was safe, just routine exercises. Then came the seizures, vomiting, foaming at the mouth. Some never fully recovered, some went mad. One soldier later said they watched us choke and just wrote it down, but it didn't stop there. In the United States, the MK Ultra project took things even further. The CIA secretly gave LSD and psychoactive drugs to soldiers without their consent. Some began hallucinating, others developed schizophrenia-like symptoms. A few jumped out of windows, convinced they were being hunted. Their families were never told the truth. And then there were the sound tests, non-lethal experiments with sonic weapons. Soldiers were exposed to infrasonic frequencies for hours. Some experienced internal bleeding, others lost their hearing forever. The worst part, these men were told it was for the greater good, that they were heroes. But they weren't treated like heroes. They were data points in a lab. Many died in silence. Others lived on deformed, broken, unrecognizable long after the war ended. And the governments. They denied it ever happened until the documents were leaked. So the next time you hear someone say, "Trust your country," remember, sometimes the real damage isn't done by the enemy, but by those who called you their own. Number 6, how ancient people tried to keep the dead alive in horrifying ways. Death is supposed to be the end, but for some ancient cultures, it was just the beginning, because they believed that the dead should not be left alone. In parts of ancient Asia, families would keep their deceased loved ones in the home for days, even weeks. They dressed the body, talked to it, fed it, not symbolically, literally, rotting flesh, open eyes, the smell of death filling the room. But to them, this was care, it was love. In South America, the Chinchorro people mummified their dead not to bury them, but to keep them seated in the house. Painted faces, stitched mouths, propped upright in the corner, as if they were still watching over the family. Children would speak to their preserved grandparents as if they never died. In parts of ancient Europe, the body wasn't just preserved, it was modified. Bones were broken and reset into lifelike poses. Glass eyes were inserted. The jaw wired shut so it looked like the corpse was smiling. And if rigor mortis had already set in, joints were cut and replaced with wooden hinges. But why go to such terrifying lengths? Some believed the soul would wander if the body wasn't cared for. Others feared the dead would return angry if they were ignored. So they kept them close, talked to them, slept near them. In the Philippines, some tribes practiced hanging burials. Bodies were placed in wooden coffins and hung from cliffs. Not to keep them safe, but so the dead could hear the wind and still witness the world. And in perhaps the darkest practice of all, certain ancient Siberian tribes would preserve the body with herbs and cold and leave it at the family's dinner table for an entire year. They believed it kept the spirit happy. Even if the eyes were gone, the mouth was stitched, and the skin was falling away. To us, these rituals sound horrifying, but to them, it was a way to keep the dead alive, to deny loss, to fight grief with ritual, to pretend that goodbye didn't exist. Number 7, ancient cultures that refused to let the dead stay. Dead death is supposed to be the end, but for some ancient cultures, death was just the beginning of another kind of presence, because they believed if the dead weren't honored, preserved, or kept close, they'd come back. Angry. In some rural Asian villages, families would keep the deceased inside the house for days, sometimes weeks. They dressed them, cleaned them, sat them upright. They fed them bowls of rice, and they spoke to them. The body rotted slowly, but they called it respect. In South America, the Chinchorro people went even further. They mummified the dead not to bury them, but to keep them seated around the home. Their faces were painted, their mouths were sewn shut. Some were posed as if still alive, watching over their descendants. In parts of ancient Europe, corpses were reassembled. Dislocated joints were reset. Eyes were replaced with painted stones. Smiles were manually forced. Dead children were dressed in their Sunday best, propped up for family portraits, sometimes months after their passing. But why some believed the spirit remained close to the body? If the corpse was treated with care, the spirit would bless the household. If not, it might return. In the Philippines, some tribes practiced hanging burials. Corpses were placed in wooden boxes and suspended from cliffs so the dead could continue to feel the wind, see the world, hear the living. And in Siberia, families would preserve the bodies of relatives using herbs and ice, then keep them at the dinner table. For a year. They would pass the salt around the corpse, like it was still one of them. To us, these rituals sound disturbing, but to them it was love. It was grief refusing to let go. A desperate attempt to keep the dead from ever leaving. These stories aren't fiction, they're real. They've been buried hidden or forgotten. Until now. If you're drawn to the dark side of truth, subscribe, and let's begin.